Welcome into your sports tonight. Bailey Burmaster joined alongside Ellie Parker tonight. We are also going to have Lee Smith and Emily Gagnon join us all the way from Athens. So we have quite the show for you because we have a lot to get to. Fun topics. We're going to talk more about this SEC championship. Kirby has talked. The players talking today post-practice. That just happened a few minutes ago. We're going to talk a little bit about Texas A&M's new coach and some of the interesting comments he had to say in his presser today. We're going to get into NFL storylines as we always do. And then I think the topic we're most excited to talk about, Ellie, is the Chicago Blackhawks drama. I'm just going to set that up. We're going to see what happens, but we're not going to dive into it just yet. But let's start with this SEC championship. Now you're not.
There we go.
There we
Hi,
go.
everybody.
SEC championship. Let's start there.
Yep.
We talk a lot about Georgia. We don't get to talk to you about Georgia a lot. Where are you feeling with this team right now? Do you believe they can three-peat? Let's start there.
Yes.
I do too.
I think they're going to. I think the only team that could have really beat them lost in Ann Arbor on Saturday. I think it was really Ohio State and nobody else. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Alabama is a great team. If they hadn't had the quarterback controversy early on in the season, didn't have that loss to Texas, I think they'd be in the top four.
I think something that I can't wait to dive in deeper this week is Jalen Milroe.
Yes.
Kirby Smart basically said he is Lamar Jackson in Madden. Like, he was really surprised when he kept watching tape about him. But what I would even go further as saying is in the SEC, he is by far probably the most improved player of the year.
Absolutely.
Because everyone is talking about how he is, like, he's this great quarterback and he fits every box and yada, yada, yada. But that was not the case.
No,
that was not the case.
Even earlier this season.
Yeah, no, and when he started, everyone was like, oh, the quarterback controversy. There is no controversy now. There is none.
If Jalen Milroe had played against Texas the way he played against Auburn on Saturday, that game score is flipped. Mm-hmm. It's Alabama coming out on top. They're undefeated. They're probably the number 4 in the CFP coming in. Mm-hmm. You know, their season is completely different without that loss to Texas.
So what is your prediction for the SEC championship game?
I think Georgia wins, but it's going to be close. I think it's 7 to 10 points. I'll go.
Okay.
Frankly, I think that Iron Bowl score is really close. I'll go like 30-27.
Yeah, I'm going to go 31-27. I will say Georgia. I will say this, though. Had the Iron Bowl swung in Auburn's favor, I think this SEC championship game is completely different, and I think Alabama wins it no matter what, for the mere fact is I just feel like
they would be so angry.
The Crimson Tide are not losing 2 in a row, especially with the SEC championship, especially after getting beat by Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Nick Saban is not going to allow that.
So fueled by anger and spite.
Correct.
But here we go. Alabama I said it yesterday with Emily, pulled off 4th and 31, was reminiscent of 2nd and 28 in the 2017 national championship.
There was no pressure, and you drop everyone back.
Two-man rush.
And you give them, 2 yards to
Oh,
work
my
with?
God.
Yeah, I wasn't. Come on now.
Auburn, what were you doing?
So our Emily Gagnon and Lee Smith are in Athens tonight. They had some time to catch up, talk about the game. If you didn't know, Emily covers Georgia religiously for Atlanta News First, and Lee, well, he has some ties to Bama. So let's see what they had to say about this matchup.
Welcome into the Butts Mirror building. Emily Gagnon here alongside Lee Smith, sports photographer, producer. This is his favorite week, and I say that because we finally get to talk about Alabama in the sense that you're a former student and Georgia is finally facing your team once again. How are you feeling entering this game, Lee?
You know, well, I'm hopeful right now just because of where the season started. Huge potential for this team, but I don't know. You got to slay the dragon. I mean, you got one chance. You got to make it happen, right?
Yesterday with Ellie Parker, I was talking about what we went through on Saturday when Georgia and Georgia Tech were getting ready to kick off. We were outside of Bobby Dodd Stadium. The last score we saw was 24-20 Auburn with like a minute on the clock. And then we lost all reception. We were outside getting ready for live shots. There were so many people going into the stadium. And I said, you and I didn't know. You assumed Auburn had won.
I mean, 4th and 31.
I know, but we both didn't know. So we both thought, okay, Auburn won this one. You were not the happiest. But then we both start getting text messages from friends and family members.
Ding, 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 ding,
yeah,
ding, ding.
and
My
then
phone was lighting up.
I saw, one of my girlfriends had texted me. She's like, oh my gosh, did you just see that game? And I thought, oh my gosh, Alabama pulled it off. So I ran to Lee and gave him a big hug. And Lee's like, wait a minute, is the game over? Tell me the game's over. And there was still like 20 seconds on the clock or something like that. But Alabama pulled it off. And all that to say, that was a cool moment between us. But
cool.
I won't forget it.
That was cool.
But this is a huge momentum boost for your team.
Yeah, I think it is, and obviously you lose that game, and I mean, there's
nothing to play for.
The season's pretty much gone.
Correct.
And I don't. It's kind of weird, not being in the hunt for something like that this late in the season, because that's not something Alabama's used to. But boy, it was close. It was close to not happening, but somehow, some way, they found a way to do it.
I can't say enough about Jalen Milroe from the start of the season until now. I was just asking you about when he was benched, third game of the season. Yep. Now, however many games, past that, he's passed for over 2,500 yards, has almost 450 yards on the ground, thrown 21 touchdowns, 12 on the ground. I think he has 6 interceptions. And at the beginning of the season, had you told me that he was going to develop into what we're seeing today, I wouldn't have believed it.
And I don't know if I would have either. But hey, credit to him, credit to offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, credit to Nick for believing in both of those guys and kept them out there on the field. Look, he's been better as a passer, and he's still hit and miss.
Yeah.
He does make 1, maybe 2 bad decisions a game, but it hasn't really costed them because he can make up with it on the ground with his legs. I mean, the guy has, you said 12 rushing?
12 rushing touchdowns.
Which is a ton for a quarterback.
I think that's more than any running back has on Georgia's team. I'd have to look to see how much Dejon Edwards has, because he leads the team in rushing touchdowns.
Well, and that might also be as many touchdowns as any Alabama offensive player has on the ground. So, I mean, it's just crazy to see the development from game 1. Game 2, they lose against Texas. They get walloped. Let's be clear, they got manhandled at home against Texas. And then game 3, USF, he gets benched, doesn't play. And then since week 4, it's just been shot up to the moon.
And I know we want to talk about Alabama because, obviously that's who you're pulling for, and we can say that on the show. But let's talk about Georgia. And Kirby Smart compared Milroe to Lamar Jackson. He was actually asked, would he compare Milroe to Tim Tebow? And he said, no disrespect to Tebow. I would go more with Lamar Jackson, but saying that he's a bigger, more physical Lamar Jackson. So that's quite the compliment from Kirby. And now Kirby's defense is going to have to find a way to stop Milroe.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. I feel like no one's quite done that yet. Auburn did a pretty good job of it.
Shout out to Auburn. That was a great game.
Yeah.
Their best of the season.
They came to play for sure. They always do. I mean, very rarely do they lay an egg at home. Now, they did the week previous to New Mexico State, but that happened once, and then, other than that, they've pretty much been on. They were on their game when they played Georgia. They had a chance.
Yeah.
They had them on the ropes a little bit early. So if they convert that 4th and 1 right before halftime, who knows? Could have been a different ball game.
I mean, it was a late touchdown that put Georgia ahead in that game.
Yep.
Not in the last minute of the game like you guys.
Right.
But
Right.
There were still a few minutes on the
last
clock.
30 seconds.
But it was still very late in the game.
No, so I mean, but Auburn always plays well at home, and especially when Alabama comes in there, doesn't matter what the records are. It's literally the craziest. For me, it's the craziest rivalry there is. I mean, there's always some kind of wrench thrown into the game.
Yeah.
Every Saturday they play.
At Jordan-Hare, it's Auburn who finds a way to pull it off.
This is the first time I've ever seen it. This is the first time that I can really say I've seen anything like that.
Yeah. No, it was a great game.
2009, when Alabama was undefeated, they went into Jordan-Hare. They almost lost that game. and Roy Upchurch caught a play action pass out of the backfield with like maybe a minute or two left. But other than that, I mean, it's been
Only Lee
it's
takes
been
it back
crazy.
to 2009.
Well, I was
to
a
talk
student,
about
so
the
hey,
Iron
that's
Bowl.
that's.
I love it. So really quickly, Lee. So Georgia's defense is going to have to stop Milroe and then
Yeah.
everybody around him. But
Well,
Alabama's defense, though. Let's talk
Okay,
about
okay,
Alabama's
okay.
defense, because you have said quite a few times throughout the season that you like how much they've improved as well. But they have quite the task in stopping
Yes.
Carson Beck. And I say that because that man just hasn't really been sacked this season. I think he's been sacked a total of 10 times all year. The offensive line does a great job, but Carson does a very good job of getting rid of the ball very fast.
He doesn't get hit a whole lot, and
Yeah.
that's going to be Alabama's task. They got to hit him, and when they don't get to him, they've got to at least pressure him to throw their timing off. I mean,
Yeah.
other than that, I don't know what you can do because they've got quality players everywhere. I mean, just like Alabama does, but it seems like Georgia is the most complete team, obviously, that Alabama is going to have to play.
Yeah, you
And
could say the same about Georgia, though.
That's true. It's true, but I feel like Georgia overall, I want to say the whole team, they probably have a little bit of an edge on Alabama. Now, I think Milroe being able to run and escape pressure, that's gonna help a lot. But if your defense doesn't get pressure on Carson Beck, and if you let him sit back there, pick you apart, and then you have the run game, Kendall Milton and company, Dejon Edwards, the offensive line, you're gonna have a long day. You got to stop one of those.
And we still don't know, as we stand here in this very second, how healthy McConkey is. Lad McConkey, obviously, he's a game changer when he
Right.
actually is in the game.
And
number
to me,
19, too,
To
as well.
me, McConkey is a bigger deal than Brock, and I know what you're thinking. That's crazy talk. I get it.
Oh,
McConkey can stretch the field more than Brock
and
can.
he's so fast.
Brock is harder to take down.
Oh,
No
yes.
one can tackle Brock one-on-one. But McConkey is the one that stretches the field, which gives everyone else more space to work with. So if he's not able to go, you got to think that's definitely a help for Alabama. I mean, because Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint and Dylan Bell within the last couple of weeks had really kind of taken on.
Elevated,
They have taken
absolutely.
on a lot of that burden when McConkey's out of the game. But even then, I don't think it's quite the same.
It's not. They're not the same.
But I'll say
player
Dylan
as
Bell has
McConkey.
impressed me though, because he has been a Swiss Army knife for this
Yep.
team. When Milton got hurt in the middle of the season, guess who was at running back?
Yeah.
Dylan Bell.
Yeah.
Guess who's also catching passes because he's also a receiver?
Yeah.
Dylan Bell.
And who's throwing passes
Who's
too?
throwing
Touchdown
passes too? Come on now.
Dylan Bell,
I
who
know, right?
in high school was a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think overall, Lee, though, for me, I came into this season thinking Georgia's defense was going to rule the roost for a third straight year, and that's not the case. This team is actually an offensive team this year. I like their offense better than their defense.
I feel like it's more balanced. I feel like the offense's ability is closer to where the defense's ability is, instead of most of the time.
With
maybe-
Stetson for 2 straight years, that defense,
That-
especially year 1 in 2021,
Well, the 21
that defense
was,
carried the
yeah.
team.
I feel like last year they were pretty good offensively too, though. You know, they were sneaky good last year.
I
really
think they're
do.
better, though, this year.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with it. When everyone's healthy, I would agree with that.
Beck has so many weapons. Like,
I
he's
know.
spreading the ball out. He's, getting to 7, 8, 9 guys a game.
I mean, imagine, you have the best tight end in the country. He goes down, and you follow that with another, 5-star tight end who plays, who's mostly a blocking tight end, but can most certainly have very athletic catches in Oscar Delp. And then behind him is, guess what? Another 5-star.
Yeah, it doesn't
You
stop.
know?
But this team is
It's
very banged
just
up.
picked your poison.
Yeah,
No, they're
Georgia
banged up
is
right
very
now.
banged up right now. I think that will play a part in Saturday's final result.
Yeah.
And, just to leave you with some last thoughts here on number 19, Brock Bowers. On Saturday, Kirby told us that he's just sore. He was sore from playing against Tennessee. No doubt we saw him limping off the field.
I mean,
First
it took
drive
3
coming
weeks.
out of half.
3 weeks to recover
I
from
know.
that injury. I mean,
26
come on now, you're
days
gonna be a
after
little
having
sore.
surgery,
Yeah.
you're back on the field, scoring touchdowns
I know,
nonetheless.
right?
So the problem with Brock right now, which I do think he will play Saturday, is
Yeah,
just
I
the
think so too.
soreness, trying to manage the soreness. And the problem Kirby explained to us is a week, it's light work for him.
Right.
He stays off of the ankle. He's just doing, light stuff. So they're just trying to manage that pain that he is feeling, which is expected. And Brock said, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Right.
I mean, you're playing again, after having surgery and thinking nothing of it.
I mean, it's crazy to me that he's even back now.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom that he came back, 3 weeks
Yeah.
after he got hurt?
It's wild.
3 weeks. Dude, he's on another level.
On another level, we'll see who is on the next level Saturday, 4 p.m. on Atlanta News First. That game will kick. Lee will have all his emotions in
Wrapped
check.
up.
Yeah,
Wrapped
in
up.
check.
Not while I'm working. I don't get
he
crazy
doesn't.
while I'm
He
working.
doesn't. But after the game, we certainly will see if my man right here has a
sad.
smile
Yeah,
or not.
you'll see if I'm happy or sad on Monday.
All right, Bailey, we're going to send it back to you.
Thank you, guys. Of course, we're going to wait and see if Lee is able to be happy or sad after that game. That's what we're all waiting to see, isn't it? Okay, let's get to our next topic of business. Texas A&M has found their new coach. They get rid of Jimbo Fisher, pay him a pretty penny, too much money. They have now hired Duke's Mike Elko. Before we dive into this, Ellie, I want to play this little part from his presser.
The best version of Texas A&M football, our way, wins the national championship. But we also embrace who we are right now and where we need to work and where we need to improve to get where we want to go. Okay? There is no elevator. I say this to my players all the time. There is no button you push to get to the top of college football. There's a stair that you have to climb every single day to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Okay, so the beginning part of that statement, he basically says when Texas A&M is its best, they're winning national championships.
They've never done that.
What? So I understand the coach speak and having aspirations. I think the issue is managing expectations, especially with the fans.
And this is a program that literally created a trophy with 20XX national champions.
So
We've already been on this ride.
I also believe that the last time they had a double-digit season was when Johnny Football was there. Before that, to have double-digit wins, you would have to go all the way back to 1980 something. So Texas A&M is not a powerhouse. The best thing Texas A&M could have ever done was actually probably stay in the Big 12.
Yeah, if they stayed in the Big 12, they would have been competing regularly for conference championships and in the college football playoff landscape, probably nailing a playoff spot every now and then. Now they're in the SEC West, where they've got Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss on occasion blocking that path.
Listen, I think I know nothing about Mike Elko. I'm not going to sit here and try and act like I do. I will say that his deal is 6 years, $42 million total value, runs through January 31st of 2030.
2030 is a fake number.
There's also a lot of incentives. He also gets $11 million for a staff salary pool. So I know nothing about him. I will tell you this. I think Texas A&M is not the program they think they are.
They're not.
But I hope it works out for Mike and he's able to find more success than Jimbo Fisher. But, I mean, do you feel like he'll find success? I mean, it's less about the university and more just probably recruiting and getting the players in state that are probably going to Texas.
Mike Elko came from Duke University, coaching the Blue Devils for 2 seasons. Before that, he was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Who's been a better recruiter than Duke in the past 2 years? Kentucky. Who's been more successful than Duke in the past 2 years? Kentucky. Who was the first person that Texas A&M was going for? Kentucky head coach Mark Stoops.
I was going to say, do you think Stoops
would have been a better choice because Kentucky is a harder program to recruit at and be successful at than Duke? And here we have the A&M fan base, pulling a Tennessee Greg Schiano and, just completely nixing the hire when it would have been
Listen,
better than Mike Elko.
We'll
frankly.
see. We'll see what happens. We will see how it all plays out. Let's switch gears to another area of concern. How'd you feel about Desmond Ritter's performance on Sunday? Yeah, they got the win, but it still wasn't great, was it?
It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
The turnovers are still there.
They're still
he
there.
Had two
Why
interceptions.
is this happening?
If Jesse Bates wouldn't have had that pick six, what does that game become?
How is this team in first place?
That's-
Why is this team
I
in
said
first
that
place?
in my
They
package.
don't deserve that.
I said that in my package after the game. I was like, for all the faults the Falcons have, the NFC South has more faults, and that's working in their favor right now. Like, somehow they are in first in the NFC South. I don't know how. I don't know why.
What if the Panthers didn't suck? Are the Falcons in first right now?
Or what if the Saints didn't have Derek Carr?
True.
Or what if the Bucks? I don't know.
You know,
The
what's
Bucks. I feel
whys
like
and
it's not just Baker
wherefores,
Mayfield
like-
with the Bucks.
But in the world we're living in, the Falcons are in first with a sub 500 record. What are we doing?
I don't know. That's a great question. They have the Jets in New York this Sunday, which I think is going to be a fascinating game to
Oh,
watch.
it'll be a very fascinating game because you've got a pretty mediocre team going up against a dumpster fire.
And keep in mind that Desmond Ritter's not very good on the road.
No,
He's good at
not.
home, even though he had the 2 interceptions.
Yeah,
and it's
on
also
the
going to
road.
be
It's like
it's also going to be really cold there, which
Yeah.
this team is not used to playing in. So will they rise to the challenge? We shall see. Are there any other NFL storylines you want to get to before we dive into this drama?
Thanks for the number 1 pick, Carolina.
Do you want to talk about Monday Night Football at all? Because I know you're a Bears fan. No,
They didn't even screw up the tank by winning this game.
you're not.
I'm team. The season is lost. Punt on it. Thanks for the top 5 picks.
Would you rather have Josh Dobbs or Justin Fields?
That's a very good question. Oh God.
That's why I asked it.
Selfishly, I'm Team Tank. I want Justin Fields because he's worse. If I wanted to win, I think I'd have Josh Dobbs. But I don't want to win at this point. I want the top 5 picks.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about your Bears. I'm sorry, I guess is probably what I should say.
And then we have another Chicago sports team
Yeah,
with some
should we get
drama.
into it? Okay, let me set the scene. So, all of this is the rumor mill, okay? I am totally just going to straight out say this is all rumors of what's going on.
Rumors and speculation. And none of this
speculation.
is confirmed.
No, but we have to talk about it because it's actually a wild accusation. So, the Blackhawks Corey Perry, I think this started as a Twitter rumor and it just really caught steam. So there's a rumor going around that Corey Perry had
Certain relations.
with another star player's mother, Connor Bedard. It was like the mother's trip where the mothers come around. And there was a rumor going around that Corey Perry had had relations with Connor Bedard's mom.
Oh, this is where this show needs a bleep button.
So as this caught fire, around the same time, they put Perry on leave. He's not with the team. His agent comes out and says it's a personal matter. The coaching staff and front office, general manager, no one's giving any context.
Kyle Davidson, general manager of the Blackhawks, had a press conference this afternoon that gave literally nothing, said it was a personal matter, said both the league and the Players Association were were supportive of the Blackhawks' decision to put him on unconditional waivers. If he doesn't go to another team, he gets released.
So that's when the Blackhawks today moved to terminate Perry's contract after investigation concluded the 38-year-old vet committed workplace misconduct, which is just confusion. No one really knows what's
go
going
out
on.
And say it. What this
Kyle
man
Davidson
do?
saying it's been a tough couple of days.
Just say it. What did this man do? Come on.
Yeah, and they're not. So it's a little sus, as the kids say.
It's very sus.
It's kind of like, wait, is this rumor true?
I think there's enough smoke for there to be fire here.
So the team said in a statement that Perry violated the team's internal policies intended to promote professional and safe work environments. Davidson said he met with the Hawks' remaining players Tuesday to explain his decision, but did not give them any more details about the misconduct than those he shared publicly.
And having certain relations with the mother of the future of the franchise certainly fits.
Like, you were going to do anything to protect Connor Bedard.
Yes.
And you would do anything because you basically gave him the keys to the castle the moment you drafted him and brought him in. He's also lived up to the hype as a rookie too. Like, he's
been fantastic.
He
for
has
the
been
Blackhawks.
amazing for them. And he's if you don't know Connor Bedard, he's quiet in nature. He doesn't really cause a scene. He's very like, what's a good word for just
He's very elusive as a person.
Yeah, like kind of emotionless sometimes
Yes.
too. So
And then this happens.
and I don't really know what to make of it. I don't really want to go on record saying if I believe or don't believe this, but I will say I definitely think it's all a little sus.
It's very sus. And this isn't the only terrible news that happened to Blackhawks fans today, because Patrick Kane's going to the Red Wings. Your franchise legend going to your biggest rival. What is happening to this team?
Tough scene. It makes you wish there was a hockey team
Here
back
in
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Can you imagine?
Could you imagine? Oh, wait, I remember what that felt like.
I think it's different now. I do genuinely think the scene of hockey is different, and that Atlanta is different when it comes to sports now.
Yes.
That it might find success.
Yes.
But it's got to be promoted right, a lot like Atlanta United did.
Yes.
And the culture they've sustained
And
over
if
the years.
Atlanta United can succeed, an NHL team could certainly succeed.
I'm
here.
with you. All right, as we get ready to wrap up here, Ellie, I will ask you, what is on your mind today?
Bobby Petrino's back in Arkansas, baby. Bobby Petrino got hired as the Razorbacks OC. Let's go. Give me the drama. Give me the drama.
You're here for it.
I'm absolutely here for it.
Love it. On my mind, I'll stick with Atlanta United. Thiago Almada and Yorgos Giacomakis were both, the MLS announced that they are part of the best 11, which is given to
As they should be.
Correct. Given to the players that are the best at their position. Thiago, an amazing midfielder, was not only a centerpiece for Atlanta United, but definitely one of the best. It will be interesting to see if he's even back next year, because he might get picked up by a European team. And then when you look at Yorgos, I mean, duh. It's funny because as we covered him later, he has this bravado about him, and he knows what this team was. Something he said to me when I interviewed him was, this is a transition year for us. So we're going to go as far as we can in these playoffs, but it's a transition year. So I think where we could really start to cause some problems is next year. So we will see how that pans
It'll be a
out.
very exciting team next year, especially with him at the helm as the striker.
Yeah, well, and I think the Crew, they played Orlando and ended up winning, so they advanced to the conference finals.
The Crew have just been a great team this year.
They
I
really
don't
are.
think there's any shame in losing to
No,
that
and
team.
Cucho Hernandez is unreal. I mean, he's hard to stop. So, good team. Good to see those guys get their accolades, as always. They usually do. But yeah, of course, as the week progresses, we will have all the latest on the SEC championship for you. Keep you updated on a lot of, obviously, the Hawks are back in action tonight as well. They're in a snowy Cleveland. They are on an 8-day, 5-game road trip. Talk about brutal. That is brutal.
Reminds me of the circus road trips for the Bulls.
They do, and I will say this, they do actually still have a possibility of being in the in-season tournament as a wild card. They have to win tonight, and then they need 3 or 4 other teams to lose. Probably not happening, very unlikely, but
it could.
There's a chance. There's a chance. So we will have those highlights tonight at 11, and we'll keep you posted on all the latest storylines as we develop through the week. But for now, we're going to wrap up your sports tonight, your Tuesday edition. We'll be back tomorrow with more. For Ellie Parker, I'm Bailey Burmaster. You all have a great night.
Bye.